Hello, friends.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Brittany. Together, we are two sisters who are here to help you learn some tips and tricks to help navigate this crazy journey called life.
We bring the perspective of a licensed mental health counselor, aka therapist, and a new mother.
And a slightly eccentric mom of two. When you combine us as sisters, we like to consider ourselves as quite the dynamic duo. So join us as we talk about all life has to offer.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and hit that follow, like, or subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts for updates. You can also see our expressions and interactions posted on YouTube channel under Uhane Counseling.
If you're liking what you hear, leave us a 5-star review. It helps us know what content you like and spreads the love to others to get resources and help for their mental health. Okay, hey, Sizzler.
Hi, Sizzler.
We're trying something new today. We're recording together. So we'll see how this goes. But we thought it'd be fun just to...
I've always wanted this.
I know, that's all I wanted to do, too.
I was like, I always thought this would be way more fun. So fingers crossed it works well and records well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got the two of us together. Sister power.
It's way more fun. Like, this is way more fun.
I know. Otherwise, we sit in our own little, like, dark
and then we're, like, staring at ourselves, like, ooh, and then I can just stare at you here.
Be like, hey, look into my eyes.
So, today we've been going off themes for the month of February. You looked them up. Do you remember that?
I did, yeah, for like what was like the months of wellness and the weeks and days and whatever.
Yeah, like mental health and like themes, because there's always like days and themes. Like chocolate chip cookie day, I need to mark my calendar.
Oh, I think it already passed. That every week. I don't care. It's today.
Yeah, but those days are like easy ones to remember, like Pi Day. 3.4. You know, that's coming up.
3.14.
Dang it! I even got it wrong. So we can remember those well, but then I think it's cool that they have the year ones of like, you know, month awareness for depression, I think is in October. Mental health awareness month is also. So we are going to kind of highlight the ones that we have found. And this one this week from the 16th to the 23rd, which we're still in it, people, kind of. No, not really. But just do it anyway.
We're like out of it. But so we're going to do it now.
Yeah, but retroactively, it's for random acts of kindness.
Yeah. And I love that. That is something that I love to do. So let's dive into this.
I thought the psychology of kindness was really interesting. So I actually looked up studies for this. There was a UK study done where they looked at all the benefits of having kindness in your life as well as kindness towards yourself. So it's kind of like two separate things. So we've talked about this a little bit. Like last week, we talked about this a lot. If you did not listen to our podcast on self-esteem and self-confidence, that's a really good one to go revisit because I think we all need that all the time in our lives. But the power of having kindness towards yourself actually has a lot of psychological side effects that are amazing.
Okay.
As well as towards others. So 63% from a study done in 2020 stated that 63% of adults in the UK reported that if others were kind to them, it helps their mental health. But it also is like an antidote to feeling isolated and creates a sense of belonging, which I thought was cool. Like it's an antidote because like that's a very strong word. You know, like antidotes are like they save you, they heal you.
Yeah. Like if you drink this poison, then here's your antidote.
Yeah. It's always like in those like quest movies or like a snake bites and you need the antidote.
Exactly.
You know, like or James Bond kind of thing. And that's where I think it's cool because it's true. If you need something to fix you from feeling like you're left out or feeling like you've been isolated and not like wanted, then being kind towards others can facilitate that for you. It's your fix. But I think that's often like against our instincts because I know when I'm isolated more, I get a little more sassy. Like, I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking back to like the COVID pandemic time, right? Like when we were all isolated, we were all by ourselves. And I feel like the world, there were at the beginning, everybody kind of banded together, right? And was like, we've got this. This is all going to be so great. Like communities were like trying to uplift each other. And then the longer it went on, especially we're in the Seattle area. Yeah. So we were one of the longest COVID bubbles, I guess.
Lasted 2.5 years.
I don't know. Like
it was all the way towards when I met Matson. We still had to wear masks. So it was in 2021.
Yeah. It was.
So it was like a year and a half.
It was a long time.
It was a long time.
Schools were shut down, everything like for way longer up in the Seattle area than others. And so at the beginning, everybody was like, we've got this. It was so community based. And then it stopped. So like you said, I think people just started kind of being a little more selfish. Like, I've got this. I'm grouchy. Screw you. I've got my toilet paper and you don't. Like,
no, it's so true. Because you kept hearing a lot of those things coming out too during that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really sad. But so I think that this is a perfect example of how it feels when you're doing these like random acts of kindness for people, like how uplifting that can be. And how did we all feel during that time of complete isolation? And then B, like, how did it feel when you didn't do that? Like or not you per se, because
Or
I'm
even, like,
sure all our
received
listeners were the
it.
best. Yeah. But like when you received it, how did it make you feel?
Mhm.
Did you feel good inside? Did you feel sad? Like even recently, this is not COVID related, but I came home and someone had heart attacked my door. Super sweet, right? Simple. They left cookies, heart attack the door. And it was one of those that it just made you smile and just made you feel loved. And I think that that's something that we just really need to remember, that it doesn't always have to be something big, but we have had a time in our lives when we didn't have as much of that.
Yeah. And that's where I think it's a cool thing to look into, because it's such a simple concept. It's one that we teach our babies from when they're little.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, just be kind, and you don't realize the power of it. And I have this quote in my office, and I think it's from, I remember it's from the Cinderella live action or something, but it says, always be kinder than you feel.
Mhm.
And I think that's reminded me on several days when I'm like fed up, or I'm done, or I'm like, going through compassion fatigue. And it's like, I may not feel this way, but if I give this behavior out, it's going to give a lot more light into other people's lives than what I feel like I can give right now. So it's
Yeah.
it's like a cool balance to have that reminder all the time.
Well, it's kind of like that, fake it till you make it type of scenario.
Some days, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people don't want me nice to.
I know.
Which is not nice.
And there are some times with people that if I'm having a hard time kind of loving either myself or loving
Mhm.
certain people, I will do service. Like, let's
Mhm.
say even my children are being a stinker that day. What am I going to do? I'm not going to just like go and yell at them, but I will find a way to serve them, which is hard sometimes. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But like those random acts of kindness, actually lately, this is a perfect example. So my little guy, when he gets in trouble, we have a consequence, right? So if you're being mean and yelling at your sister, then what's the way he fixes that? And a lot of ways that he comes up to do this is a random act of kindness. Like he'll come up with a service. So a lot of times it's like, he'll jokingly be like, I'm going to be her slave all week or for the rest of the year. And I'm like, no. Like it just needs to be something small. So a lot of times he'll like make her bed, or I have a picture of, I'll post it on Instagram, like a simple random act of kindness. And I took this photo after he had made my bed, and he was so proud. So like not only did he love me more, but he loved himself more.
Well, did you know that acts of service actually create the bond? So if you look at like simplified, the relationship with dogs, so they imprint on the person that takes care of them the most, which is why moms will often be like, I don't want a dog. It's true, because you are going to end up being the caretaker, and that dog is going to be your little follower, not like anybody else's. And then you look at with kids, that's the whole attachment theory, is how your kid attaches to you is based on how you care, give, and serve them.
Okay.
So relationships are actually increased and bonded tighter based off the amount of service that you give and connection and kindness that you give.
It's so true.
And then that creates the, like, whether it's like stable or unstable or like avoidant, anxious. There's 4 different types. The 5th one kind of sometimes alternated in. And it's interesting. It's based off how you serve people and how you've connected. And that is what's going to create that bond for you.
Yes. It was interesting. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she had brought up that her love language was random acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
And she was jokingly telling me about some little boy that like had written her this 8-page letter about how much he loved her. And it was like, they were like kids, right? Like she was like, I don't know, 10 or 11. And so this boy had given her this letter, and rather than responding, like, and they were friends, and she was mortified. She's like, I am a acts of service person. What does these words mean? Nothing to me. And I guess she like ripped the paper and like tossed it. But it means so much to have these little acts of kindness. It helps you. It helps it helps those around you so much. Like that statistic, 63%.
Well, and that ending, it creates a sense of belonging. Kindness creates, either to the person receiving or to the person giving, both, it ends up facilitating that sense of connection and unity that can't be formed over any other way. Like you think about the closest relationships we have, they were created out of kindness usually. Like the people you choose, like me going with my husband, it was a kindness establishment. So even when I don't feel so kind towards him, it was established that way. It also gives you a new perspective. Like kindness can create you to be more open-minded, because I think a lot of times going into things, we go in with our own perspective and closed-minded. But by saying like, okay, I don't like I've done this before, especially like with my husband, because we have very different perspectives, and I'll be like, well, I'm not going to agree with you, but I'm just going to be nice and listen. But because I'm nice and listening, air quotes around that, right? Like I end up seeing a different viewpoint that I wouldn't have given a chance.
Yeah.
Because I was being socially polite, which is interesting. You don't think about that.
Or there's other things too. Like Taylor and I both are a part of a church where we're actively involved. And there will be times when you're assigned to take dinner, or not assigned, but like we'll volunteer to take dinner to somebody, right? And sometimes we like the people, and sometimes we don't really know the people. But by taking them a simple meal, it changes our perspective. And maybe we find something out about that person that we like more or that we didn't know, or it gives us more compassion, or it gives us more of like a foundation to see the world a little different. And it's kind of cool when that happens too.
Yeah.
Even if it's somebody that you don't necessarily like know or have that relationship with, like, you know, like Madsen, that's a good one, like to open your perspective. But
Yeah.
you can open it up to by engaging with people who you wouldn't otherwise engage with.
Yeah. I think that's a big one. It's a good way to kind of widen that if you're kind of a rigid person or stay in your own perspective. They also, in this article too, it was interesting, and I'm going to link it on our website, but they talk a lot about, like, the UK study does about how in politics, if people were kinder, we'd actually get a lot more done.
Oh,
Because people would actually listen to
yeah.
each other. So it's not so much about, like, you can still have disagreements, but they even went into a political side note, which we don't like politics because it makes me anxious to say in the word, but because it's so charged. But with more kindness met, usually people can come to more of an understanding with each other, not agreement necessarily, just understanding. Again, that's the terms acceptance versus agreement.
Right.
You can accept other people have varying opinions than you.
And to see that other perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a point. Another one is it reduces stress.
It totally does. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm having a really crappy day and then all of a sudden I'll go do service, instantly it's like a light bulb turns on.
Yeah.
And it's okay, I've got this. Like, my life doesn't suck so bad. At least I can be nice and like whatever it may be. I don't know. I'm like trying to think of an example, but like take a dinner to somebody or
Well, I just remember, even we love Starbucks, and I just remember like a few times somebody's bought in my Starbucks ahead of me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's such a sincere way for somebody to show love towards us. That doesn't have to be, you know, anything big. So that's where I thought that was cool.
No, and it was, I have bought that, like, I had a girlfriend behind me one time in line at Starbucks just randomly, and I totally bought her a drink, and she had texted me later and was like, that made my day. Like, I've never had anybody do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a simple, random act of kindness. Just totally, like, feasible. I mean, all I did was, like, buy her and her daughter's drink. Like, it was nothing. Yeah.
Another one, we talked about this, it strengthens connection. So it's just re-emphasized, like the sense of belonging and the connection is really emphasized with this.
Yes. And that is one where I'll go back to that example I've used with my son, where if he's being a total stink bug to his sister, and then as soon as he does this service, it instantly strengthens that connection, right? Like, so instead of them like butting heads and totally fighting about things, the next minute after he has served her, then he's apologized, and then they're off playing, and it totally changes things. It would change the world, like the politics and everything.
I thought that was so cool. They highlighted that. I didn't think they would actually highlight that in the article.
Like,
I need to go through and dig into this more on what they said specifically about politics, because I was like, who? Like they went there.
I love that.
I was like kind of surprised they went there, but I thought it was cool.
I could change the world.
You don't sound as good as the original.
I know.
Okay. All right. Kindness towards ourselves. So the values that it gives us. And this is one that I had just given a workshop on this actually a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
and
yeah,
if
you did.
Anybody could get this. This is the part that I would say is the absolute most important, and it will lead to all the other kindness towards other people. And I think people get distracted on that. They think, oh, I have to be so kind to everybody else. And it's like, no, if you can start with being kind to yourself and then build from there, you're going to already be kind to other people. Like it kind of goes hand in hand.
Well, and I'll pause on that for just a second, but like, I think a lot of people sometimes, like, if you're not feeling good about yourself, then you don't want to go serve other people.
Exactly.
And then it makes
or
you
like,
like,
take it out on other people. Or
yes.
Or it seems like it has to go and be really nice when all you can do is think these negative thoughts about yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't want to go deal with these other people. Like, why would I do that? Nobody's nice to me. And you're able to find all of these more negative reasons to not go do these random acts of kindness because I'm not a people person. I'm so crotchety. I hate the world. Like, so really listen to this because it is important. Like, kindness towards yourself totally will change your perspective. Like, even if you're coming into this as like a crusty, like Mr. Wilson, you know, from what's that? What was that show where Mr. Wilson was in?
Home Alone, or not Home Improvement?
No. Like the one where the little boy was like a pain in the butt.
I don't remember.
Mr. Wilson. But like, so even if you're like the if you're like the like grouchy old man on the corner that doesn't want people in his yard right now, like if you start to love yourself, it will make a difference. Yeah.
I thought this was really funny because when we were talking about this, it came up, but I sent my husband this morning. It said, my wife just said, if you hate everyone, you should eat something. And if you think everyone hates you, you should go to sleep. And I don't think I've ever heard a better life hack.
Yeah.
And
so we're going to edit that to say, love yourself.
Yeah. Well, I was like, that's basically loving yourself and taking care of yourself, right? Like if you're not meeting your basic needs, then you can't go and like do an outside, let me take care of people or be nice or whatever it is. So
yeah,
I do this one first. Like I emphasize the other one because people, when they think kindness, they go outwards. But if you can get anything, do it for yourself. So it strengthens your own self-esteem. Last week we highlighted in our episode. Again, if you did not listen to that one, go back and listen to that one, because that one is a really good one for this whole subject of self-esteem. Is about your belief and your love for yourself, like your own self-worth, versus self-confidence is your belief in your talents and your capabilities to do things. So it'd be kind of like the difference of, I think I'm a great human being, but then I think I'm a really good pianist player. Those are two different things, right? Like me being a pianist player is not me as a human being having worth.
Right.
So it strengthens your ability to think that you have worth. So the nicer you are to yourself, the more you think you have worth, which like makes sense.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
The nicer
if
you
you're
are.
mean to yourself, like we talked about this last week so much, but if your inner dialogue is all of these mean things and you're not taking that time to be kind to yourself, you're going to grade yourself down and you're not going to think you're worth it. Like Taylor had read this list last week, and it was just, if you believe all these horrible things that you tell yourself, of course you're not going to like want to be kind to your own personage.
Ugly.
I don't know how else to say that. Yeah.
Self-confidence is the other one, which is your belief in your capabilities. Because the more that you're mean and beating yourself up, like, oh, why didn't I, like, pickleball, it's funny, like me and my husband will play that, and the more that I'm like, oh my goodness, I just can't hit it, like, I actually am pretty athletic, but the more I get in my head about not being athletic or thinking I missed something, the worse I do, versus if I'm just like, oh, I just didn't do it, like I just didn't get the thing that time, like the ball, I can do it again.
Yeah,
it helps. So the less like you beat yourself up, the better performance you will give. It also improves optimism,
which is true. If you have a negative headspace, it changes it. There was a quote the other day. I'll try to find it. Oh, our mom had sent this to us, and it says, my therapist once told me, if you're going to spend time worrying about the worst case scenario, it's only fair to spend time considering the best case scenario also the most likely scenario. So if you're only feeding yourself all these negative thoughts, like, of course you're going to like feel super negative, but why not spend some time? Like, if you're going to go into the negative thoughts, put some positive thoughts in there, like balance it out.
And I even think too, sometimes people, because I was trained to do the same, but then I saw later on in one of my trainings where it was talking about like sometimes toxic positivity can be detrimental to us. So like, if you're swinging so far from like negativity all the way towards the positive side, like people can't do that. And I've made this mistake multiple times with clients where I'm trying to like pull them so far, and all I need them to be pulled into is neutrality. Like, instead of saying everything is pure garbage, how can't we say like, this is the situation? Like, like I don't know, I hate making dinner and it's the worst thing ever. Okay, I don't want to make dinner, but I'm making dinner. Like, it neutralizes it instead of saying like, making dinner is my absolute favorite thing. Like, does that make sense? It's a swing, but I love that how it's saying, you give all this time to these negative thoughts, give all this time to this positive thought. There was also this from years ago, and I think my mom told me this, but she said for every negative comment that you have, it takes 10 positive comments to rebalance out the negative.
Totally believe that.
Like the power of negativity in our minds is a lot stronger than we realize. So I thought that was interesting as well.
It's super interesting.
Yeah. And then the last one is, it may help you live longer.
If you're being kind to yourself?
Yeah. Like kindness actually helps you live longer.
Because
it doesn't wear your body down as much. Think about it.
Yeah.
Your cortisol levels are lowered.
Yeah.
And then your like how your body functions, it's not always in fight or flight mode, and it's not like your behaviors, we call them compensatory. So if you think about like when I'm feeling bad about myself, then I'm like, well, what's the point? Like trying to have a goal, like losing weight or something, right? Like after having a baby, I'm like, okay, I want to get in shape. But then if I look in the mirror and I'm like, well, I don't like what I see, what's the point? And then I just go and eat more crap. Like it just reinforces. And we tend to do these things all the time where it's like, well, if you think negatively about yourself and you're not nice to yourself, you're going to do behaviors that reinforce that not nice message, and they can help us not live longer.
Yeah. And another thing I'm thinking about this that isn't like it's not like food related, but think about the people that we know that really don't like themselves and their self-confidence is down and all their self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And they don't put the time into their own appearance. They don't put their time into their own, like their health, all of this. And they're like, I'm not worth much. I'll just wear these pajamas and my hair's all greasy and I can just eat McDonald's every day.
Yeah. Like, how you groom yourself is actually a really big deal.
Yeah. Like if you put the time into this, like I could see it. Yeah. I could see how it can make you live longer.
Yeah.
Because you'll take better care of yourself if you feel better.
Yeah.
If I feel like crap, like, I'm going to eat crap and I'm going to look like crap. And exactly, I'm not going to live as long.
Well, I think of it like a car too. Like if you think about how a car operates or like a machine.
Totally.
And it's like, it makes sense to me. That one made a lot of sense.
I could totally see the logic behind that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't doubt it one
I'm like,
second.
yeah, that sounds a little terrible. And yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So just some of the benefits, I thought it was pretty cool about all of the side effects of, and there's a lot more to it, but these are like the top of the things can affect us from kindness. So if you guys need some ideas, I have this list from this link was legit, guys.
Yeah, this is a good
from UK. So they also went into like 50 ideas for random acts of kindness. So some of my favorites, like even say good morning, like that's a random act, which that shouldn't be a random act of kindness, but it really is.
Okay.
Or holding a door for somebody is like, whoa.
And I remember like going to Hawaii and we would be walking around and my kids loved this so much. Like every morning we would go for a walk and people would say like, good morning, or aloha, good morning. And my kids thought that was such a great way to start the day.
Yeah.
So then when they would come home, if we would like go for a walk, they'd be like, good morning. And like people would always be super surprised. It totally is a random act of kindness.
Yeah. It was interesting. So I thought that was cool. Like if it's raining, lend someone your umbrella. Like you can tell somebody they can walk with you. That's a little bit higher level for some people, which I get. Smile and say hello to people as you pass, like we just said before.
Yeah, a smile goes a long ways.
Smile goes a long
ways.
We talked about like paying for somebody's drink or coffee before. That was on the list.
This is a fun one. Send someone a picture of a cute animal. Like
we do
all over Instagram. Like send someone a hilarious like GIF or meme on Instagram.
We do
like,
it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it makes people smile. It's
yeah. Like taking things to the donation, like cleaning your house that benefits you. But like we do that all the time where you drop things off. Spend time playing with your pet. That's a random act of kindness. But you know what? So Koa had the best existence the other day. I took him on it was a really nice day. So I took him on like a 3-mile walk with my mommy crew. And then he came home and he got to play with like my nephews. So he was running around the house. And that night he was sprawled out in my lap, like so happy, just like in heaven. But it is like taking time with your pets. I mean, trust me, this guy gets a lot of things, but that was just the cutest idea.
Yeah. So there's so many ways. Another one, I have gotten the reputation of being the cookie lady around our neighborhood and like at kids like sports. Make some cookies, go share them at work, take them to your kids' sport teams, whatever. Like there's so many little things you can do and it doesn't have to be big.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to note too, if it feels overwhelming to like give these random acts of kindness outside of your home, start in your home. That is something that my mom really pointed out to me. I was having a hard time with that during COVID, I think. And because I've always been so like service based on things.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, you're giving service every day. You're giving service to your children. You're giving service to your family. And so if it helps your perspective, if you're too overwhelmed at the thought of like being around people or anything, or this is just like super overwhelming, start at home and that will make the biggest impact.
Even if you can't even do, that's why I pulled in like ourselves.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Even if you can't even do other people, then start with yourself. You do have the capacity, because if you don't have the capacity, then we have a bigger issue.
Well, everybody should start with themselves anyways.
Yeah. Like,
I'm like, we should all continue to work on that anyways. Like, yeah. But then if you're looking to help others after you've already decided to help yourself. Yeah.
I love it. So we're going to end with a quote that I have in my house that I have loved for a long time. And it's from Mother Teresa. And I think she's awesome. But I mean, we should,
She's
right?
Mother Teresa.
Spread love everywhere you go. First of all, in your own house. Give love to your children. Give love to your wife or your husband, to a next door neighbor. Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile, kindness in your warm greeting. I love that. Like,
I love that.
I mean, we're not going to be perfect at it because I'm definitely not. And you guys
no,
but I think that's beautiful to say, like, you emanate this sense of kindness to you so that other people can emanate it. And I think
I love that.
What Random Acts of Kindness is all about in that time period. And they don't, like, the list is awesome, guys. Like, they don't have to be big at all. It's saying hi to people or texting somebody or, like, how cute is that? So love that.
Yeah. So this week we're going to give you a challenge. Try to involve more random acts of kindness into your own life and into the lives of others. And we'll check in on you guys, see how it went.
Find us on social media through Ahane Counseling and on Spotify or Apple. And don't forget to spread the word and hit the like button. We appreciate all our listeners in the community that we are trying to help support. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye.